Let's fix it in a little bit.
Okay, all right, everybody. This is the day traders versus the weekly outlook for November the 30th, 2025. This week, I'm gonna be out this week, but I'll be in the office this week, and I have a trip coming up at the end of the week, so I probably won't get a lot of chances to trade this week, but I am looking for upside movement this week. Um, a lot of the plays I'm looking for are looking like it's going to be a buy for this week. Let's start off with the Fed. The Fed rate tool. We had a lot of shifts throughout the last couple of weeks, and I just want to keep an eye out on this right now. We just moved to a 87%, pretty much a 90% chance that we do get the rate cut of 0.25. That'll probably be coming up the week after next, because we'll have the Feds doing the Fed rate release on the not this week coming up, but next week. And we don't have NFP this week. We won't get our NFP until the second week of December. So that's how we're gonna look at this week. But we do have a couple things. Um, Powell speaking on Monday night after the market. So only thing we got for Monday, we got PMI. And then we have nothing on Tuesday. Wednesday, we do got ADP on it, ADP employment change, and then we got ISM on Wednesday at 10. And then on Thursday we got unemployment. And then on Friday we got PCE, consumer sentiment, and inflation expectations. So looks like we'll have late week moves, probably opening up on with that move on Wednesday for ADP. As far as the expectations, we had 42,000 and they're expected only 19,000. So if we get a beat on this, that may cause us to flip to push higher. So I would keep an eye on that on Wednesday. I don't have any option plays this week. Going into this week, I'm not liking options this of recent. I think we got a lot of indecision, so it's making it a little harder to pick of late. But if I do, all I have is a couple of trades open on Neo still, and I closed out for the most part everything else on that. But as far as earnings report though, we have no big names, but we do have like MongoDB, something you may have heard of. We got a couple banks, um, Dropbox, a couple retail companies, GitLab, CrowdStrike. That one might give us a move on Tuesday since we don't have any economic news. We'll need to pay attention to CrowdStrike on Wednesday. Salesforce, Macy's, that's one I'll need to pay attention for personally. We got Path, that's one we've traded. I think I might still have one contract open on that. I need to check on that. Um, Kroger's, familiar name, TD Ameritrade, Hewlett Packard. That'll be one we need to pay attention, and then Victoria's Secret. So not anything huge, not anybody huge reporting, but I think that our biggest one is will be the CrowdStrike, and maybe this a three C3 might be another one too. C3 and Path. So those will probably be the bigger ones on Wednesday and Tuesday, because we also got Salesforce too. That's another one. So I think we got a question. Got a question?
Yeah, I got a question for you. So
Uh,
these companies that's reported earnings, you say they're not real major companies, but they still trade like within the billion-dollar trades, right?
yeah, like I don't mean that they're not major companies, but I'm just saying that to say that they don't move the market alone. Like if these companies don't meet earnings or whatnot, or they don't, or they beat earnings, it's not going to make the market drive in any particular direction. The market can take the impact of these trades or these companies and not move the whole market based off of how these companies move. That's all.
So which companies does have a large impact on the market? Like
Your
this,
FANG stocks, your Facebooks, your Nvidia, your Apple, your AMD, um, was Netflix, but not so much Netflix. Though companies like that, Tesla, um, those particular type of companies, the bigger name companies. Right now, Nvidia is our biggest of them all that's moving the market. So that's always one you want to pay attention to.
so I saw over the weekend that Meta AI and they had some major. I guess I won't say major movement, but they had a lot of large movement in the market
Mm,
along with Nvidia. So are they two companies to look out for, like in tandem with each other?
Not so much in tandem, but you always want to know what they got going on in most cases. Especially with earnings or if you hear them making major purchases, make picking up new companies, new acquisitions, like those are always things you want to pay attention for with them. Um, Let me check. Let's look at Nvidia. Nvidia did end up having a pullback, like a really big pullback, probably like I think a 5%. Not a big pullback, probably like 5%. I think we even dropped down to like 170 at one point. Yeah, last week. You can see it right here, but it's still within a decent range. Like I may look at setting up some leaps on this. I'm just not ready for. I just don't. I don't see the momentum in the market right now for it. Um, it could definitely be moving off of this area. Because what I'm looking for with Nvidia is I want to see the next move to take us back above those highs, and I don't think we got it right now. Because this was our earnings report. On the earnings report, we beat and we sold off ever since then, just because I think there's like a lot of rotation going into the market right now. Like I think that a lot of people have taken the opportunity after we made these all-time highs, because this was the last all-time high right here, 195.62. After we took this high out and we touched in 200, I think a lot of people that have been long holders took that opportunity to take some money and take some profits. And so what I'm seeing, like this move down is just profit taking for the most part. And I'm just waiting to see where we get some decent momentum back in the market to see where we can start seeing we push back above these highs, right? And I think it's coming. We usually get our Christmas rally around this time. I think that we may pause here for a little bit, but this could be giving us our run up because we took liquidity over here below these lows at 176.76, and we are starting to see some rejection. So we are starting to see people buy around this 175 area down to the 170 area. So I do think that we are at a good spot. And like I said, I may pick up some, but it's just not a priority right now. Um, this gap is an interesting gap right here. Um, on Nvidia, that's kind of where we're sitting at right now on Nvidia, and we already came all the way down, and we're holding the low, and now we've traded back above the high of this gap. So it is a good opportunity. around this area to try to piece in some positions, maybe. So maybe that's something that I will look at. It's just again, it's probably low on the totem pole right now. I probably got like 6 days to trade the rest of this year, and I got to finish a project. So that's got my priority right now. So um,
I got a quick question, Cub.
yeah.
So, you say these folks are taking profit.
Hmm.
Um, we did so that's basically a distribution phase,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Okay, so then it'll start accumulating down here where it's holding profit in, right?
Yeah, that's kind of the expectations. I would like for us to go sideways down near these lows
Okay,
and just give it an opportunity to figure out where we want to go.
okay.
Yeah,
All right.
that's exactly what I'm looking for. And I would be okay too if we were to take out this low that we made, these two the low we just made, and come after this low right here at 164. So I would definitely be okay with that. But I will it do that? I don't know. So
If
that's
it
kind of
did,
why, huh?
would it be looking to go down into that little fair value gap right there on
Right
that up
here,
to one below that one?
one below that. Um,
Yeah, that'd be
it
too.
it could. It definitely could. I don't see it yet because Nvidia always pushing, you know, and that would give up half of this year's move. So I don't think we go that far down. But is it a possibility? Absolutely. Anything could happen. Um, because that'll put us right around 150. But if we were to take out these lows right here that we just made, then that's when I would start looking at that this being a possibility if we were to take out that low.
I'm
But
looking at this on the daily chart, right?
the daily, the chart I just had open was the weekly.
Okay.
So we got this weekly fair value gap that's here. We got a couple gaps to pay attention to down here, over here that I would probably focus on too. But for now, this 164 area is probably where 164 and then the low we just made, I think we hold that low. So for now, I don't see us coming down here yet. But if we take this low out, then it's a possibility. I'm sorry, if we take this low out, it's a possibility. So, but I don't really have nothing for Nvidia right now. I'm just waiting to see if we get some more momentum in the market because you can see let's put the volume on here. You can see over the last probably ever since we had earnings, you can see on the earnings release date that was on the 19th, right? The 19th earnings kicked in and we were bullish on that day. But then the following days, the volume's been to the downside. And then the volume, when it did pick up on these 2 days, were the days where we got these big wicks. And it's just been dwindling off ever since then. So the volume has trickled down right now. And it's probably hovering near the low volume right now. Yeah, like so 23rd looked like it was around a low volume day for them is like 1.6 million in trading volume. And I think I'm sorry, that was 111.36 million in trading volume. What was this day? 122. And then Friday we had 121. So of if we go back to like July time frame, we've had one of the lowest volume trading days um, on Friday. So Looks like
Oh,
it's the second or third lowest traded day of volume. And I'm looking up here at the volume right here. And as I scroll past the candles, you can see the number at the top to kind of give you what the volume on the day was. So low volume
okay.
means that nobody's lower than normal volume. I won't say it's low volume, just lower than normal. It's kind of leading me to believe that it's not anybody really picking up new trades right now. So if there's no volume in it, and there's no direction so far, then I'm gonna just leave it alone for now until I start seeing that. And if you just want to test it out, see how it plays out, maybe grab a couple contracts on it, but nothing of interest to me right now. But I'll still send this chart on NVIDIA. So
So, Corey,
yeah.
looking at the volume, right? Are we looking at an increase in volume as I was watching the video and they were saying that when the volume is increasing as the price is dropping, that's when they're going through a supply a demand stage or supply stage, I think. So
Volume decreasing as market, volume increasing as
yeah,
market is falling.
yes,
No, that's just directional bias. That's just heavy selling to the downside. And usually, when you see a sell off, you usually you see sellers get to their targets faster than you do buyers. So a
okay,
lot of times you see a lot of volume on sales and lower volume on buys because in most cases, if it's a good company, volume tends to push higher. Low volume tends to push higher. High
mhm.
volume tends to push lower. And that's you can kind of like do your own research on that, but the general consensus is that low volume is usually leading the market higher. High volume is usually leading the market lower. And there will be times when you have a catalyst that will give you high volume and push the market higher. There will be times of low liquidity or low volume when the market will go lower. But the general sense is that usually with higher volume leads to sell-offs because you need to have a lot of sellers to change the direction and a lot of people to flood into that market at a given time to push it in the opposite direction.
So when you say catalyst, you mean something like a
A
breaking news or earnings report or something like
or
that?
something like of that nature.
Okay.
Yep, yep. So here is NVIDIA. Oops, wrong chat. Hold on, my bad. Give me 1 second. I put it in the wrong chat.
Take your time. It's like just me and you today. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know.
looks like
I
it.
don't know where Roger at.
So a lot of people mentioned, but it's all.
Somebody just dropped off, man.
Yeah, yeah, I saw.
Maybe that's back in it.
It's okay. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
I've been marking up in charts. Just trying to see where it's headed into.
yeah. Let's go with dollar. Let's go with dollar. And let's take everything off the chart real quick. So dollar is on the daily, it's really sideways, honestly, right? And you can see where we make this low, this high, these lows, and we kind of just finally got to the middle of the range that was made by this high and this low. But we did manage to take out these two highs right here and then trade it back into the range, right? So of late, looking at what we got going on, we had this fair value gap. We had this small fair value gap right here. We've been trading lower ever since the last week, and we just went lower for the month. Now, could we be targeting these lows? That's a possibility. That seems to be where we are possibly heading. If we take a look at the weekly, this low is pretty close since the close, right? This is where we closed last week. The closest low or high is this low right here. So you kind of want to assume that we may possibly take out this low or this low. We could stay sideways, which because we did this week, we stayed inside of last week's candle. So we didn't really make a huge move, right? And then let's just look at the monthly. The monthly should be a doji pretty much. Yep. So it's looking like we did take out this high. We took out these highs, and then we traded back inside of this huge engulfing candle, but this huge bullish candle, and that's kind of all we've done on this month so far. So we when we have a tendency to we have a tendency with when these kind of scenarios with dollar just being a little indecisive, that gives gold the opportunity to do whatever it's going to do on his own, and it can act in his own accordance, right? So as far as dollar goes, if we go down to the daily chart, let's go 4 hour. What I'm looking at is for immediate move, right? This was we have we have a small fair value gap on the 4 hour. I want to first see how we actually trade against that, right? And if we can get in and above that, we can get in and above that, then I'll be looking to see how we respond to it, right? So on
Okay.
dollar, this fair value gap that we have here, that's I'm not gonna put it on the chart, but this is the first thing that I want to watch out for, right? And this one actually is just below a bullish fair value gap that is not it has been traded through, right? So we could be looking at this as an inverted fair value gap. But for now, I'm still gonna keep it as a bullish fair value gap. But we could be trading inside of this and then holding to go higher. This is actually a daily go. And if we do trade back inside, that would mean that we would be getting right above the low, which is 99.661, the daily fair value gap low. If we start to trade back into that level, then I can see us pushing up higher, and then we come into this daily bearish fair value gap right here. But for now, I just see us go ahead. Like I said, I think we attack these lows that we got right here on dollar. You can see that we got these lows right here. So I'm thinking that we will likely take these lows and then make a decision as to how we want to move forward after that, right? Because this is the most probable low, probable area of liquidity. And then if we get that, we start to trade down and to take out this previous week low, and then into this 4 hour fair value gap. And then we could start seeing buying from there. So for now, I'm going to assume we're going to take the buy. We're going to take the bias to the downside on dollar for now. Or we just go sideways, right? We just range. So that's where I'm looking at for dollar. And because of that, I'm seeing this give us room to push up higher on gold, which that's what we'll go over next. Give me 1 second. I'll drop this in the chart and in the chat. And okay.
So which it's only one DXY chart, right? Only $1 chart, right?
I mean, you can look at it from different brokers, but the one that I always use is the broker TVC.
That's trading view.
Uh, you know what? I don't even remember what this dude, what that company is, TVC. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
Yeah, that's trading view.
yeah.
Yep.
I forgot. I ain't looked at that in so long. Okay, let's go gold. Gold. And like I said, because my first instinct is that we will look to go lower on dollar, then I'm going to be expecting gold to go higher. So let's look at gold. So I'm going to go to the daily, and on the daily chart on gold, things we need to consider, right? There's a couple areas that I want us to keep an eye out on, right? We're inside of a bearish fair value gap as we speak, right? This is the bearish fair value gap right here. This is an order block, a bearish order block right here, this up candle. So that's where I'm thinking we target. We target this high and we trade into this order block. If we do need to retrace, we'll need to probably deal with price holding inside of this fair value gap, this bearish fair value gap. So with us having this strong bullish engulfing candle, we could see like a retrace down into it, hold, and then push up higher. If not, we can just start seeing price take out our high from last week and then go for this high and then eventually trade into that fair value gap. You can see on the weekly is pretty much lining up with the same thing that we go after this last week high and then trade into somewhere inside of that daily fair value, daily bearish order block, which is up around this 4290 area. Monthly lining up with that too. That's coming up in here into this strong wick and then seeing how we respond. So we go to the 4 hour and we got this black this black fib right here, that's going to represent the body of the order block. And then that body of the order block starts right around 4268 area. The daily fair value gap, we already, the daily bearish fair value gap, we already traded into it and we pretty much traded through it already. And we'll just need to confirm like, hey, what happens at this middle? What happens if we drop to the low? And how do we trade if we trade through the high, right? And then if we open up and trade through the high, we'll go ahead and take out this previous week high, and then you'll need to watch how price trades into this order block. And if we start seeing price hold inside of the order block, that could lead us to go higher as well. And like I said, anytime we take out a high, we should see a new fair value gap created, and then that'll be your entry to continue to go higher. If we do see some sell-offs, right, from the opening and early into the week, if we do see some sell-offs, right, we are inside of a bearish fair value gap. So we do have to consider that, right? But at the same time, us coming out of this and seeing price hold near the low, you can see there's a small fair value gap right here on the 4 hour. Watch how we trade in that, right? Because we could catch bounces off of that, like this 4175 area at the daily bearish fair value gap low. And then there's also an inverted fair value gap right below it that we can start seeing buys come from too. So that's where we would need to look at the high, middle, and low of the inverted fair value gap, particularly the high of the inverted fair value gap and the low of the inverted fair value gap. So we could see some bounce off of that area. And if you do see a setup for a sale on gold, I would be a little careful with it because right now volume's pushing us higher and price action is pushing us higher. And then right now the closest high that or low that we have is this previous week high that's probably our draw on liquidity for right now. So that's how I'm looking at gold. Um, and let me send you guys this. Oops. Hold on. Let me clean this up a little bit. So like if we open up on a 0 to 1 move to the downside, watch how we respond to this little small 4 hour bullish fair value gap that is overlapping the low of this bearish daily fair value gap. Watch how price reacts right there. Because if we can't get a strong move to the downside to continue this 0 to 1 move, that's probably going to be the entry that we get for the buy at the 1 to 2 move to the upside, right? But for me personally, I think we go ahead and get this 0 to 1 move on the upside on the open on gold, and maybe even gap up on gold. So keep an eye out on that if you trade in gold. And I'll send the chart for gold. All right. Now we'll look at Dow Jones or YM. Let me make some edits real quick. So we'll go look at Dow, YM, and we'll start on the daily. And you can see on the daily last week, we gapped up on the open. We traded slightly into the gap, and then we just kind of pushed up from there, right? And a lot of that volume was just based off of the Feds changing their stance on the fact that they decided that they were going to go ahead and possibly uh go ahead and do the interest rate cut, right? So we got a fair value gap here, we got another one here, and we got an inverted fair value gap here and here. But the one I need you to focus on is this bullish fair value gap right here that got inverted on this move to the downside. And then this bearish fair value gap that we're sitting in right now. That's where I want you to pay attention. And if we are still bullish, right, we eventually head to take out this all-time high, right? And we could see some retracement into this candle or into this candle or even into this candle. But as you can see, we already got bullish fair value gaps that'll hold us higher to the upside. Going to the 4 hour, you can see this was a bearish fair value gap. It's inverted now, so that'll be a very key level. This is a breaker that I haven't taught y'all the breaker, but this is a breaker that lines up with this. So this adds on to the strength of that level. So even if we do see a sell-off, we should see price hold around this 46,850 up to like 47,160 area, right? Because that's a very, very strong area. So like if we were to sell off, I don't see us without having some major news to push us lower than that, right? This area lines up with the daily bearish fair value gap that I mentioned, and this area lines up with the bullish inverted fair value gap that I mentioned. So now we got the overlap happening right around the monthly opening price as well. So this kind of leads me to believe that we'll hold inside of that bearish range and we'll eventually invert it and then push up higher. So what I'm looking at for Dow is worst case, and I'll start with the sell off, right? Worst case on the sell off, our 0 to 1 move pushes us down into our last move to the downside where we get this, where we have this bearish inverted fair value. This was a bearish fair value gap. It's inverted now, and now it's an inverted fair value gap that overlaps with this 4-hour bullish fair value gap. The 0 to 1 could take us down there. You got some little short-term liquidity right here. We can trade through and down into it, but I think our 0 to 1 takes us worst case down here, and we hold to push higher on the 1 to 2 move, and then we actually get a buy from there. We could also see us coming down further into this bullish fair value gaps where we got the overlap of this 4-hour inverted fair value gap right around the low, where the low of the bullish fair value gap is 46,857. The high of the fair value gap is 47,174. So we could see a bounce off of one of those areas to keep us pushing to the upside. Worst case scenario, we push down lower into this one, and I think that still holds us higher. But we closed inside of this bearish fair value gap from the daily, and you can see we got overlap inside of here. So the 0 to 1 for the bullish move to the upside, I think that takes us up and above this bearish fair value gap. So I think we go ahead and stay in the range between the low of the bearish fair value gap from the daily at 47,647 up to 48,017. And we see price hold around the middle and take out the high, and then we start using that area to push us higher. There is an inverted fair value gap on the 4-hour right here too. That could give us some temporary moves to the downside. You know, if you don't get this 0 to 1 move, you let the 1 to 2 retrace, and then you take the 2 to 3 to the upside to go higher. And then your goal is to take out this all-time high. And if we take out the all-time high, you'll look to target this 49,000 price point and 48,800 area, and then the 49,000 area as a target on Dow Jones or YM. Make sense?
Yeah,
Make
it
sense?
made perfect sense. So we looking to break through. What's that? Hourly. What's that? What's that? Fair value gap in the real. What's that? A daily fair value gap?
Daily. Yep.
Okay, so we looking to break past the midpoint, right? To see
Yeah,
if it's gonna continue to push up.
yep.
Okay, and then we gonna be targeting that overlap from what's that? Inverted value gap, fair value gap to the
This
top
one.
there. Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
and that's gonna give us some confirmation of whether or not it may continue to push up.
Yep.
But we're definitely looking for some retracement.
We may get a retracement. We may or may not, right? Because if what I'm thinking is if we gap up on the opening in a couple of hours, if we gap up, that we'll probably end up trading through this daily bearish fair value gap. And if we gap up, that'll be basically a new area of support. So we'll be seeing like if we gap up, then that'll be our 0 to 1 move. And then the retracement into the gap should give us the 1 to 2. And then we hold. Either way, the overlap should, if we open up to the upside, will be, roughly around the high of this 48,000 area, of the high of this bearish fair value gap. And then if we do see some pullbacks, it'll probably happen. That 1 to 2 pullback will probably happen around this little area right here before we take out this all-time high. But eventually, I think we go ahead and trade through this and then go ahead and push higher for this 4 to 5 move up.
All right, so let me ask you this, Corey.
Hmm.
When the market opens, we're gonna be looking for that first candle to open above the previous candle, right?
Yep.
Okay. So
Yep.
do we let that candle close out first before we take a trade?
Yep.
All right, and then we'll put our stop loss down at the low. What's that? Uh,
I don't
that
really trade the gap opening on Sunday, so I
okay.
like to give it room because sometimes what end up happening is you may get in the trade early, and it's no problem with trading the opening on Sunday. I know a lot of people who do it, but it's just not my cup of tea. So, um, I just particularly I just like to see what direction and how it moves, right? So if it does gap open, I just wait for the retracement into the gap and then I take the trade. And my usually what I'm hoping for is that if it gaps open, that it stays in a range after it gaps open and then overnight. And then once the market starts opening in like London or pre-New York or something like that, we get a trade into the gap and I take the trade from there that point. But if
Okay.
you want to take the gap and if it does gap open, then that's also a good trade too. But just know that there is a possibility that it could come back into that gap.
But anytime we trade, we should expect some pullback. Don't get nervous and nothing like that. Just let it ride out.
Yeah, but it all depends on what your entry strategy was too, you know. And then you also got to understand the market just don't go straight up it or straight down. It even if you see in a time frame when you get a candle like an engulfing candle, if you go to the lower time frame, there's still probably going to be some up and down throughout. Yep, yep, yep. So did I send down? Yeah, I sent down. All right. Then we're gonna do NQ or NASDAQ 100. Similar setup, similar situation. The only thing different about NQ, and we can go to the daily, is we're a little farther off of an all-time high than we are with Dow. So Dow and Dow and S&P are closer to all-time highs than NASDAQ are. So if anything, Dow will make the all-time high, then it'll probably be S&P, and then it'll be NQ, and we'll see that kind of play out over the next couple of weeks, right? But we inside of this big move up where we gapped up. There's an inverted gap right here. And then we also got this inverted fair value gap right here. And then we got this daily bearish fair value gap right here. And then we got another daily bearish fair value gap right here. So those are the things that I'm gonna be watching for. We got these relatively equal highs right here. That's gonna be a target that we looking for it to trade to. We inside of this bearish fair value gap right here. So I'm thinking that we'll hold this range. We'll hold that range between the bearish fair value gap, and we'll use that as a new area of support. Go to the charts now. So again, those equal highs that are right here, those equal highs are going to be our target. That's a previous week high too. And then on the lower time frame, there's also a little fair value gap to the downside that's right below this previous week high. So that'll be like something that I just pay attention to. And then we're price closed out inside of this bearish daily fair value gap. So I think we use this to take us higher. So we go to the 4 hour now, and let's get rid of this. If we are to see a sell-off, and I'll start with the sell-off first, our 0 to 1 should take us just below this daily bearish fair value gap. And there's a little small order block right here that we would need to deal with that first, right? And if we deal with that, and we are able to, we could catch a bounce off of that for the 1 to 2 move back to the upside if we still want to push up after that. And then there's another order block right here, these series of candles right here, that we could also be trading down to for a 2 to 3 move to the downside. But as you can see, it's trading into an inverted fair value gap. The fair value gap high of 25,047.50 is where we have the overlap of right near the high, the opening of this order block that we got, which is the order block is at 24,973.75. So if we do push down, I don't see us taking out this candle. And I think the first place we'll see something is to push up from there, right? So we just gotta deal with that and see how that plays out, right? Hang on 1 second. Let me change. I gotta change the music real quick because it will put me on copyright bad list. I think I heard Drake in the background. And if I'm playing Drake, that's gonna take out some of my video audio. So give me a second. Okay, so I'll start over again, right? So again on Nasdaq, we're inside of this daily fair value gap. If we get the 0 to 1 move to the downside, we got this little small order block right here. I'm not going to draw it, but that's where I see us getting our 0 to 1 move low. If we are going to sell off for a retracement for a 1 to 2 and then down to a 2 to 3, worst case scenario we do is we come down into this order block on the 4 hour. The order block is 24,973.25. I don't think we get too much lower than that because we're trading inside of a 4 hour inverted fair value gap, with the high of it being the overlap of that order block at 25,047.50. If we push up on the if we push up after the 0 to 1 move, we can see buys here right around this order block on the 4 hour, or we can see buys right around that same order block that we mentioned that's near the inverted fair value gap high. But I'm going to be looking for this 0 to 1 move to the buy side, right? And I'm not drawing this fair value gap, but I think this one will get inverted eventually. And we'll use this to actually push us up higher into to take out these equal highs that sit just below this other daily bearish fair value gap that starts at 25,878.50 for the low. The middle is 25,945.50, and the high is 26,012.50. And I think that if we trade into this area and this one, we start to use these, we invert this, and we start to use this to go higher. So my pullbacks for the 1 to 2 should happen around this area. And then your 2 to 3 move should happen either at the high of this area or inside of this one after it inverts. And then we can go and look ahead and take out these equal highs as a target for the initial move up. And like I said, if you look at the daily, you can see the next highs that we have are these highs as targets, right? So that's why I'm looking at these as my targets to trade to. And then we already the previous high from last week, we're pretty much closed near there. So it's a very high probability that we go ahead and take out that target on the open and early into the week. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you this chart on NQ. And if we go ahead and trade above this higher bearish fair value gap on the daily, then the previous day high and then the all-time high will be our targets. And then eventually, I think we move up to 26,000 area, that 26,600 area as the next target. But that'll be after we deal with what's going on with these levels that are below that. And that's gonna be NASDAQ. Let me send y'all that one, and then we can go to the last pair. Last pair is ES, and again, it's looking similar. And like I told you on, I think Dow will give us our break of the all-time high first. This is the all-time high. We are only about 1% off, about 1.5% off from the all-time high. So us doing a 1% move, that's very highly probable before that we get that move pretty soon, or maybe even this week. And just like we had before, we're inside of a daily bearish fair value gap right here. And we got highs right above here, right above the monthly. There's a gap right here, and then that's the all-time high. And then you can see we got a gap that got traded through. The high from Friday last week is here. That's the closest area of liquidity. So I'm assuming we go ahead and take that out. If we do trade down, we either trade inside of this body or this body, and even worst case scenario, this body, but I don't see us coming down too much farther than this candle here inside of this gap. So I would like to see us use this bearish fair value gap as a range to hold price inside of that. And if we go to the 4-hour, you can see that we already pretty much traded through that daily bearish fair value gap, right? We actually even closed above it. So our 0 to 1 move to the downside, we can kind of assume that we may there the probability is hold on 1 second. Let me go back to the daily. I'm gonna just repeat that real quick. So on the S&P, again, we got this bearish fair value gap. We closed inside of Friday's high. We pretty much closed right near the high, just below the monthly opening price. And then we have these previous day highs and previous week highs that are likely to be our draw on liquidity. And then we also got a gap right here from the daily to the downside. And then we got the all-time high. So on the 4-hour chart, you can see again, price closed just above the high of the daily bearish fair value gap, and that is inverted now. If we get the sell side move to the downside for a 0 to 1 move, we take this liquidity, but I think we either hold inside of this range or we push up near the lows of the bearish fair value gap that got inverted. That range, the low is 6795.50. The middle is 6823.75, and the high is 6850. I'm sorry, 6852.00. So I think that we hold around the middle or the low, worst case scenario. But if we were to push down, you can see that we have this 4-hour, huge 4-hour inverted fair value gap right here. And then just above that, you have this bullish fair value gap right here. And these overlaps right here is worst case that I see us trading down to. So if we did trade down here, I would start looking at the high of this 4-hour bearish bullish fair value gap. The high of the bullish 4-hour fair value gap is 6755.00. The middle is 6743.75, and the low is 6732.50. Worst case scenario, we trade to the high of the inverted fair value gap, which is 6726.25. But if we trade down there, I can see us bouncing anywhere from the high of the 4-hour fair value gap to the high of the inverted fair value gap. So that's where, when we make this, if we make a 4 to 5 move to the downside, we can see some buying right around the 5 level. And we buy from somewhere around here. Or we buy around this after we do the 2 to 3 move, and we buy around this low right here. If we don't do that and we go ahead and push up on a bullish move, our 0 to 1 move takes us above the monthly opening price and above this previous week high and possibly above this previous day high to go ahead and start aiming for this all-time high. If we do that, we should get a new gap or a new fair value gap through this previous week high and the previous day high. That should give us our setup for the 1 to 2 retracement into whatever gap or fair value gap we make through these highs, and we can take that to give us the 2 to 3 continuation for the buy. And then once we take out all-time high around that level, we could possibly see a retracement for after the 2 to 3 move. We should probably get a retracement right around the all-time high for a 3-4 move retracement, and then a continuation to go higher. That'll get us to our 6990 level to our 7,000 level, which is a new all-time high on S&P. So that's kind of where I'm looking at us to push up to, especially given the fact that we do have a catalyst that could push us higher this week, and we could see some retracement. So that's why I'm open for the possibility that we get this retracement to the downside, but I think it's short-lived. So that's what I'll be looking for on S&P. And the rest of the day, let me give y'all these charts, and then the rest of the session we can just open it up for a Q&A. And I am recording all of this, all of this when I'm saying. So if you don't get it, I'll drop all of the stuff that I added as well. So I'm gonna just take the transcript of the recording and then throw it in ChatGPT and let it give it in a cleaner outlook, So that's it. Yes, and then the rest of the session I'll do like another 15-20 minutes Q&A if y'all got any questions. If not, no questions, we can just hop off too. No questions? Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording, and I'll go ahead and get this uploaded, and I'll drop the link in the group. And I appreciate y'all for hopping on, and I will see y'all in the chats this week. Good luck.
Very cool. Appreciate that info, man.
All right.